All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nerdgasm, and today I'm joined by a comic book writer for the DC universe, Jeremy Adams. Please say hi, sir.
Hello.
Now, he is a writer.
Glad to be on. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. It's an honor having you. I'm a huge fan of your work. I'm a huge fan of Wally West, as you could see from my Discord profile picture.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I love Wally. I loved him since like the 80s, even though I'm not an 80s kid, but read all his comics, and I'm enjoying the work that you're doing. And I have a few questions for you that, maybe you could answer for me.
Well, let's see. Let's see if I can.
All right.
Hopefully I'll be non-spoilery.
Hopefully. So the first question is, what made you want to write about the future of Wally West and make him a happy/good guy again, since Jeff Johns kind of made him a bad type of guy?
Whenever they try to make it their own, in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think my tastes and tendency skews more toward the hopeful, and I just don't know how, especially somebody like Wally West, I don't know how I would be able to write something kind of dark, I guess.
Yeah.
And so when they talked to me about if I had any ideas for the Flash, and when I told them what I wanted to do, a part of that was I kind of wanted to retcon some of the things that had happened before, and I kind of want to make sure that he was, like a hero again.
Yeah. I know.
And so and what's weird is the first run, 768, is when I started, and it was really an opportunity for me, and you can kind of tell as the writing goes on, it was me trying to figure out what kind of story I wanted to tell with Wally, and figure out Wally's voice a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The voice that I felt comfortable writing him to be. And what was fun about it was kind of like it was Quantum Leap with Flash, but you get to touch on all these other beatsters and just show the audience, because sometimes I think we forget. I think we get so consumed as fans, especially. It's like, oh, it's the Bat family. Like, there's the Bat family. It's like the Flash arguably has as big of a family.
Yeah.
And then as I was doing that, I just realized how much there was so much in common I had with Wally, and that's kind of the perspective that I was writing from. Just we all have had stumbles or whatever, but I'm married, I have 2 kids. He's married, he has 2 kids. But really, Wally had been kind of diminished. He had kind of been cut out of the continuity. His kids have disappeared. He wasn't married to Linda.
Yeah.
He, killed a bunch of people. Like, all this stuff. It was like he was the DC pinata, where they just kept hitting him and hitting him. And I thought, as long as I don't, if I treat him like a superhero, like the heroes, the stuff that I loved to read growing up, I think I would be okay. And I've been very grateful that people have been so supportive in Wally as a hero, as this hero again. It's really great.
Yeah. What was it like writing about Wally? I know you kind of dived into it, but when what was it like writing about him? Like, when they told you, hey, do you want to write about the Flash? Were you like, oh, sign me up?
Yeah, I mean, I was like that mainly because I've always wanted to write comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spent most of my career writing animated stuff and then working on Supernatural. And so, I grew up as a huge comic nerd. And so I've been always to break into that field. And because before the pandemic, I don't know if you've heard this story, but Dan Didio was going to do this thing called 5G. He called over to Warner Brothers Animation and said, well, everybody really loves Warner Brothers animated adaptations of our superheroes. How about you give us a list of the writers that really well? And I was on that list along with, people like Tim Sheridan and Josie Campbell and Brandon Vietti and a bunch of other people. And so got us in, but then he left Warner Brothers, and I thought, oh man, I was so close. So then when I got the job doing Black Adam Future State, and it was funny because they were letting me kind of do whatever I want in Black Adam Future State a little bit. That's when I came up with Gold Beetle, and I was like, this is so much fun. This is all the stuff I used to love as a kid. Like, you open up a book and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And so then when they asked me about the Flash, and I gave an idea, I think I was at odds with the editorial for a little bit because I think they wanted something more grounded, and I was like, no, I don't know how to do that. Like, I can write a very Doctor Who crazy, I have to figure out how I can write the Flash. Yeah. And it was really hard for me to think of the Flash, somebody that a guy with a boomerang was going to be a threat to,
Yeah, or like a guy who with a flamethrower.
Right. I was like, literally go time. Like, he's so fast that the world would stand still if he really wanted it to. So really, what would be the threat? And so for me, it was about how can I write this character so that I'm having fun, that I'm engaged with it. And then I get, the hard part for me is that it's a monthly book. Like, it's super hard for me because there's all these threads that I have lingering out there. Like, he works for Terrific Tech, and they're building something in the lab. And, his wife is now transitioning into a different career. And, if you read the last issue, you know that there's other things going on with her.
Yeah.
and so, and then I'm working with the kids, and I found myself going, oh my gosh, I love the kids. And I'm like, this is to wait a month. I want it every week. I want to be able to tell this story quickly.
I know. I'm always checking this website that I used to read the comics. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a writer, I'm like that. I'll tell you this. I sent to them. I said, here are all the issue that I would like to write until issue 800. And here are the covers. I think we should do covers like this. Here's what every issue's about. And like a crazy person, I send it in and this is what I want to do. They've been really responsive, so that's really cool. I feel like there's so many things that I've left, so many threads that maybe people don't even pick up on right away. That I really want to tie up and really want to explore. And I love Wally. I'm rambling, and I apologize, but
you're fine.
The thing about Wally that I love is all different than almost like every character in the DC. He's kind of grown up. He has a family. Like, how many other heroes aside from like Superman, obviously, but like, he has kids, he has a job, like, he has all these different responsibilities, which I think can make really compelling stories that no other hero really has. I would say there's something they've kept Damien really young, which I appreciate, but they sometimes they age kids up really quick, and I'm like, no, this is a really fun space to have Wally and his kids in Linden and to balance that life. And I don't know, as I'm writing it, I'm more and more like, oh, they're kind of becoming kind of Fantastic Four-y, it's fun. It's been this whole Eclipso arc.
Yeah.
People have been, but again, I feel like it would have better received it was faster. And it's also weird because people is reading The Flash a bit ago, And so I feel like it's my job to try to get people to, get back on the Flash. And so I definitely write it to be somewhat modular. I do kind of like, okay, here's like a 4 or 5 issue arc. And then I do these kind of like one-off issues. And those one-off issues are really kind of a spot for people to jump on. Like it's not going to be like, 12 issues that are so interconnected. It's like, okay, now you can jump on. You can jump on the heat wave issue or the daddy-daughter dance issue or whatever. And then you get caught up going to the next big arc. And I've got an arc I'm so excited about, but I can't talk about that yet.
Oh, man.
I know.
Do you have any inspiration? Like, what's your inspiration? Like, any past, like, Wally issues or any shows, movies?
I mean, 40 some odd years of being a comic fan. Yeah. Like I'm sure, as somebody who's a comic fan, it's like love. It's one of those weird things where you've read so many that they all become kind of like they get stuck in the crock pot that is your head, right? And then like we all sit there and talk about, I wish this would happen, or I wish that would happen, so now somebody was silly enough to let me give me they let me in the door. All these thoughts I get to do. So for me, like, I really like Wade stuff. I like Jeff stuff. I love, there was outside of the Flash, when I was growing up, Mark Grunwald, who did a lot of Marvel stuff, was really formative for me. Dan Mateas, Justice League International, that book, I think that changed me at like the core DNA level, where it's really funny. And I don't know if you've ever read it.
I have not. No.
So jealous, because that's where you've seen it, because they've done it in so many different media now, where Batman punches Guy Gardner in the nose.
Oh yes, I love that comic panel.
Who's just like such a jerk and kind of chauvinistic and all this stuff.
Yeah.
They do this gag where he hits his head. For like a year, they made him like whispering. And then they unleash him with Lobo. I mean, it's so good. And that's where, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, which is my favorite Blue Beetle, like that's where they became friends. And it was really good. And so, even up until I have Steve Ditko's Blue Beetle, Ted Kord Blue Beetle, Charlton Comics, I guess Modern Comics #1, Justice League International, Daredevil by Frank Miller, and then Mark Captain America. Those were like huge influences to me. And I mean, some people aren't going to like The Flash because I'm writing an old school comic. Like, I'm writing a comic that's not really going to be political in any fashion. It's going to be fun. It's going to be adventurous. Like, you're going to open this up and go, what is this about this week? You know?
Like what the older issues are like.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. It's like, this is fun. This is exciting. This is crazy. This is
like the villain.
This is not what I expect. Yeah.
The villain of the week, pretty much. Like, or in this case, the villain of the month, pretty much. Like, who are they facing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. An arc. Like little arc.
Yeah. Now, this is where I kind of go into a spoiler territory. So, spoilers to people who haven't read the latest issue of The Flash.
Okay.
But in issue 779, Linda gets speed suit powers. What will we expect from that moving forwards?
Well, I mean, how did she get speed powers? What does that look like? In a family of people with powers, that she has a power, even though she's transitioning into a new career field,
Yeah.
I think it presents more questions than it does answers. And it is also something that's going to lead into a bigger story down the line. And I'm excited to tell it. I can't tell you much other than funny. 779. Originally, I wanted 779 to be the second to last comic. I wanted that book to be actually. I wanted 780 to end the Eclipso saga, but they needed us to. I needed to do something with War for World 3 or 3. Mm-hmm. I can't even say it. That comes out in 780. So I ended up, which will come out next month, which was weird because originally when they put out the solicits, they said Robbie and Dennis was going to write that, but it ended up being I got to write it, which is great because I wanted to write it.
Yeah.
But I want the issue to be a little longer because I wanted the end fight to be a little bigger and more in some ways.
Yeah.
But it is what it turned out great. But then obviously the cliffhanger with Linda dashing out of the house at super speed.
Snargle bargle.
Snargle bargle, you know? And it's like, but take it. But I hope people trust me enough now that they'll come along for this part of the journey. And I can't really spoil. I can't really talk about it. I just know that section. I'll tell you this much: that piece of it is not going to necessarily be resolved quickly.
Oh man!
So, but I know. I mean, just to let you know, like that story is. It isn't just me going like, "Oh yeah, let's just give her powers."
Yeah.
It's like, it means something. It is part of a bigger story, and one I'm really excited to tell.
Yeah, that's cool. And then also, speaking of people getting powers, we see Jay get his powers back, or Jai. I always never know how to say his name, but we see him get his.
You and me both.
Yeah, is it Jay? Is it Jai? You know, but we see him get his powers back, and we see that Irie has her powers as well. Are we going to see like a team up between the kids and Wally? Like, I forget what comic it was, but for a little bit, Linda was working the computer, and Jay, Irie, and Wally were going on little adventures.
My dream of dreams, and I've been pretty open about this, is like, all the characters in Young Justice have been kind of aged up.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little older.
Mm-hmm.
And my feeling is I love kid heroes. So I really like Jay and his action log. I love Ira. I love Maxine. Maxine was a surprise because I wrote her like some of my fast-talking friends that were get me into trouble growing up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, kids. And I have some other ideas of doing those kids, As far as with state of mind is this. In 7, I'm going to screw up the date. I'm going to screw up the issues, so bear with me. I think it was 771. I think it was the issue before the annual, where Wally, the future IRA, she's talking about being engaged, and she's also talking about Jay dating Gold Beetle.
Yeah.
I think that was a real moment for Wally to go, oh, my kids are going to be okay. They're going to be heroes. And I think in his mind, he's like, then it's my job to help train them up to be the best heroes they can be. Yeah. So with that in mind, now Jay gets his powers back, or at least he has powers.
Yeah.
Surge energy that he got from that Wally got from the annual is now Jay's, and so you have Ira has powers, Jay has powers, and I feel like that's going to give some really cool storytelling moments of Wally taking time to help them learn how to use those powers. Now, because of you have War for Earth 3, you have a small break, and then we're going to go into Dark Crisis. Dark Crisis is going to start season. And so Jay and Ira, like, their involvement, I have to work that out, like, because I really like them as characters. I really like them, but I also am looking toward other speedsters too that I want to bring back and start incorporating into the Flash book, because my goal, I've said this many times too, is like, not only would I love to have this book come out like twice a month or every week or whatever, but I would love to do it. I would love, even if I didn't do it, I would love for there to be another. There's just so many cool speedsters out there that I think you could tell so many cool stories. Like, I would love to see a Jay Garrick 2 book, or a Max Mercury book,
or a Lightspeed, since in Flash Forward, there was that Linda Park version.
Heaven help Wally. She figures out that he kissed alternative version of Linda.
Yeah.
So that, yeah. I think all of that will play into it, but but it has to be appropriate. Like, the next thing that's going to happen, besides the War for Earth 3, the split that's around now, is I want to bring into the book, mainly because I felt, I don't know, rightly or wrongly, they created that the other version of Wally West, right?
Uh-huh.
And the redhead Wally had disappeared from continuity, and then he had come back, and so now you have Wally and Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
And Wallace is over at Teen Titans Academy, and Wally is the Flash, Wallace is Kid Flash, and so I feel like it's appropriate that Kid Flash shows up in the Flash book. And so a couple of issues where Wallace is with Wally, and I really want to explore that dynamic. Like, okay, they're cousins. What does that mean? How does that look? What is that about? What does it mean that Wallace is Kid Flash? And I don't know. I don't know. I just felt like it was important to kind of explore that character a little bit. And I think that character is going to show up a lot more too. So I'm trying to build out the Flash universe in a way, because there's going to be some big Flash events happening over the next year and a half that we're going to need all Flash fans on deck for.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's probably too much.
Yeah. And then, so, those were, like, honestly, the questions I had for the comics. Now, I got 2 questions, right? 2 more questions left. And they're pretty big, stretched questions, all right? So
all right, listen, man. Obviously, I'm gonna ramble, so whatever you tell me, go ahead.
Right. I also came up with not a question, but I just wanted to say, I forget what it was, either 772 or 773. I really loved what you did with Heatwave and him battling the cancer, and instead of a lot of superheroes, instead of them just fighting the villain, I loved how you had Wally just talk him out of that suicide that was going on in his head. I love that. Like,
I think that's one of the differences of Wally. He's so empathetic,
It kind of,
and especially because he went, people wanted to wipe away what happened in Heroes in Crisis, but like, now that we know that it really wasn't his fault, I also think that it makes him more empathetic.
It does,
because he knows what it feels like to feel like it's all crumbling.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you know this show, but in the early 2000s, they had that old Justice League cartoon in the Justice League Unlimited. And the Flash in that series was Wally, and that's how I got introduced to Wally. And there was this one episode, I forget what it was, but the Rogues were planning on ambushing the Flash on Flash Day. And Flash, Batman, and Orion went into the bar and they saw Trickster, and instead of fighting the Trickster, Flash walked up to him and he was like, hey, if you tell me what the rogues are up to, I'll make sure that you're in productive custody, and we'll play darts. I'll visit you in jail. And I love seeing the more human side of Wally, where not everything has to resolve around violence.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that version of Wally probably is the most is probably where I draw more. Probably, is where I draw a lot of the inspiration for this run. You know?
Yeah. But all right, so 2 more questions. You're gonna think these are a hoot. Number 1.
Okay.
Do you think you could shout out this YouTube channel, Nerdgasm, on your Instagram page?
Oh, this is what this ploy is, isn't it?
No. I actually really wanted to. I actually really wanted to see what the mindset of writing Wally was like.
When you put this up, let me know.
All right.
And I'll screenshot it and put it there so people can go listen.
All right. And then my last question, and this one's the biggest stretch, right? Do you think in an upcoming Flash comic, maybe I could be in one of them as someone that Wally saves, or get a signed comic by you?
Well, I don't think I can do that. It would be really weird to show up in a book.
I mean, maybe I slip on a banana peel and Wally's running and he just saved me and...
I appreciate the attempt, but I open that door, I'm in big trouble. You never know what the future will hold, but I appreciate you taking your swing, man. I really do.
Oh, no problem. Well, thank you for
no problem
for being on here with me. It was an honor talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate you reading and supporting the book. I really do.
Of course, like I said, I love what you're doing with Wally ever since, the whole Heroes in Crisis. I'm glad that whole thing got resolved and you're the one writing it. I love what you're doing. It made me want to reread the 1987 runs, when he first met Linda and all these exotic villains that he faced, like the Porcupine Man and
funny, it's Mark Waid. He only lives a couple blocks away from me.
Oh, really?
And so, so we got to have lunch, and I'm sitting there oh, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
He's so nice.
I know. Next, you should probably put back Speed Demon. Old Mr. McGee.